topic for this evening is now it's assassinations. What have we allowed ourselves to become? Are we no longer a nation of laws? Have we become instead a nation of men who make secret arrests? Are secret prisons now simply another tool of the federal government law enforcement? Is secret rendition of individuals now permitted out of misplaced fear? Have we decided that the writ of habeas corpus is not worth defending? Is torture now an acceptable tool for making us safe? Unfortunately, the single answer to all of these questions from the leaders of our country and to many of our citizens appears to be yes. And now we are told that assassination of foreigners as well as American citizens is legitimate and necessary to provide security for our people. It is my firm opinion that nothing could be further from the truth. Secret arrests, secret renditions, torture, and assassinations are illegal under both domestic and international law. These activities should be anathema to the citizens of a constitutional republic. The real threat doesn't arise from our failure to torture. Rather, desensitizing our nation to the willful neglect and sacrifice of our civil liberties fought and died for over the centuries is the threat. The concept of habeas corpus existed even before King John of England was forced in 1215 by his rebellious barons to sign the Magna Carta. This basic principle and expression of individual liberty, which has survived 800 years, greatly influenced the writing of our Constitution and our common law heritage. Today, we hardly hear a whimper, either from the American people or a stone silent U.S. government as our cherished liberties are eradicated. Instead, we have a government that deliberately orchestrates needless fear and makes people insecure enough to ignore the reality of their lost liberties. The latest outrage is the current administration's acknowledgement that we now have a policy that permits assassination not only of foreign suspects, but of American citizens as well. Of course, the CIA has used secret assassinations in a limited fashion for decades, despite international, domestic, and moral law. When done secretly, as in the past, our government at least recognized that assassination was illegal and wrong. Frighteningly and astonishingly, however, the policy is now explicit. National Intelligence Director Dennis Blair, in open testimony before the House Intelligence Committee on February 3rd of this year, acknowledged that American citizens can indeed be assassinated at our government's discretion.
Sir?
Yes.
Okay, one moment, please.
Hello?
Criminal section.
Who I'm talking to? Hello?
This is the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. Civil Rights Division.
What is your name?
Kevin Callahan.
This is Edward Katz calling from 493 West Charleston. Mr. Callahan, who gave you right to respond it in the way you responded? Who gave you right to continue? Mr. Callahan, who gave you right to continue experiment on my children? You have to transfer me to appropriate division of Justice Department who would be aware about classified medical experiment. I don't want to talk to you. Who transferred me to you?
Well, then why are you calling the Department of Justice? We do what the Attorney General tells us to do. So you shouldn't even be
You're supposed to end that experiment. Maybe not you, not your division. If you decide.
The General wants us to respond this way too.
No, this is not your division. Justice Department.
The Attorney General of the United States wants us to respond to you this way. Alright? This isn't the Republicans anymore. It's a whole new game. This is the way we respond to you. So I don't understand why you're calling this department at all.
I didn't call you. I've got
Why
phone.
you're calling this department?
Because, let me explain why.
But
Because
why you're calling Washington at all? The Attorney General has made it clear what we are to tell you.
No, this is not the way we're supposed to approach to this issue. A family been tortured.
Wants to approach it.
A family been tortured.
The administration wants to approach it.
This, what about new? I don't know about new administration. I'm talking about criminal crime. Let me finish. Just,
Wants to tell you.
Mr. Callahan, let me finish. Family been tortured. We came here from Russia as a free people. It's been admitted by the FBI what we're under experiment. FBI fallen under the jurisdiction of Department of Justice. I would like to find appropriate division within Department of Justice to talk about this issue and to stop experiment.
Well, it isn't going to happen, not under this new administration. All right?
It's not under new administration?
No, the administration has already responded to you.
It was old administrations that responded to me.
No, the new administration is responding to you just like this.
What is responded to me? That's what I don't understand.
The response is the same as the old administration.
But this is not supposed to be that way, you know. I mean, do you want?
The Attorney General of the United States wants it.
It's not appropriate answer. He have no right. If he wants, he have to subject his children to experiment.
And he acts for the president.
I would like you at least to direct me to appropriate agency which is supposed to take care about this problem.
The Attorney General says there is no such agency, so we're wondering why you're even calling the department, or even calling Washington, D.C. at all.
I don't understand because this experiment conducted by is from the Washington D.C. It's supported by the. Yes, it is.
We act on behalf of the President of the United States, and that's what he wants to tell you.
Obama wants to tell you this? That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Obama wants to tell what the experiment can continue and rape and torture should be implemented on children?
Yes, exactly.
That's what Obama said, yeah?
Yes.
Well, you know, I really don't want to talk to you, you know. Why is they always direct me to you? I don't understand. Why?
Because that's the way the President of the United States wants it.
The President of the United States wanted to torture Kat's family?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? That's what Mr. Obama wants to say. What he wants to torture Kat's family by putting implants in their brain and subject it for execution. That's what Obama wants?
Yes.
Can you say clearly yes?
Yes.
That's what Obama wants, yeah?
Yes.
This is disaster. Who allowed you to...
There it is. That's what people elected, and that's what the people got. That's the new administration.
But this should be ended, you know. I mean, we came here as a free people.
You just have to learn to live with it. Right?
I mean, we came here as a free people.
You just have to learn to live with it. Right?
I mean, we came here as a free people.
You just have to learn to live with it. Right?
I mean, we came here as a free people.
You just have to learn to live with it. Right?
Yeah, I know, but we're supposed to be free people. Who allowed to say like this?
The President of the United States does. That's who. And the Attorney General.
That's what they say, yeah. So in other words, you know, how can I deal with Office of Attorney General, not with you?
You can't. The President of the United States wants it that way. All right? So there.
This is just disaster. What you're saying? It's insanity. It's just insanity. It's just a disaster. I mean, you use physical force against family. You actually talk.
We here act on the behalf of the President of the United States and the Attorney General. That's what they want. That's what we want.
So, and I have no other way not to contact Office of Attorney General? No?
No, you do not.
Why not?
Because he says so. That's because the Attorney General wants it that way. That's why.
This is not appropriately. It's just horrible. It's just horrible. You keep us as a slave in this country. We came from Russia, but we didn't expect to be slaves of medical experiment in my children since age of 4. And right now the president wants to do that way? This is bizarre.
That's the way it is here. Okay?
Well, I will continue my search, you know, through these jungles of horror and devastation.
Nations. Call the United Nations then, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Call the United Nations.
Bye.
The U.S. government attempted to assassinate Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen without even charging him with a crime. We're told this evidence is secret, that he does not deserve any constitutional rights, and that some unknown individual in the administration has the authority to declare him a threat, and therefore a legitimate target for assassination.
Well, I'll take it, obviously, and I'll watch it and listen to it, and then we'll get back to you.
Yes, I know that artificially generated fear makes a large number of Americans inclined to applaud this effort, which supposedly will make us safe. But if this could become standard operating procedure and a permanent precedent is established, let me assure you that this abuse of the law will spread. It's time for Congress and the American people to wake up to the realities of the dangers we face. We must remember as members of Congress that we have taken an oath to protect and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Sometimes it gets complicated for people, but I always meet with my constituents, always.
We tried to do it for 12 years.
I understand.
Danger posed by a government that endorses secret prisons, torture, and assassinating American citizens. And I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from California arise?
Request permission to take Mr. Fabazio's time.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Tomorrow is an extremely important day here in Washington, D.C.
Criminals, clerics, and even medical doctors have used a vast array of torture devices. These insidious instruments included the mundane and the exotic. The use of these devices to terrorize, to punish, to extract information and confessions leaves no visible trace. The Immigration and Naturalization Service estimates that not only do 400,000 torture victims live in the United States, but between 800 to 1,000 of their torturers do as well.
Did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. Some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were conducted. They failed both the test of our national values and the test of humanity. The United States of America offers a sincere apology to those of our citizens who were subjected to these experiments, to their families, and to their communities.
The health of the area hospitals and disturbing information we have for you.
Target 4 investigation tonight into America's test on her own citizens, government's guinea pig.
Yeah, Target 4 reporter Greg Ryan is here with our investigation tonight, Greg. Well, Pete, Pam, we now know that classified research involves everything from atomic radiation.
It's against our laws and it's against our values. I have not authorized it and I will not authorize it.
And I've been tortured by CIA in Stanford.
I want to be absolutely clear with our people and the world. The United States does not torture.
This can't rape me. They torture me. The implants.
The United States does not torture.
It's so horrible what they're doing, Black. It's so outrage. It's so disaster what they're doing. How they torture me. Doctors.
The United States does not torture.
Doctors doing this. Stanford doctors. 3 o'clock in the morning. And they rape me. They rape me!
I want to be absolutely clear with our people and the world. The United States does not torture.
Mr. Biggs, the night of agony continues. On August 14, 2006. In the basement of Military Base Justin Peralta. I've been tortured, Mr. Beams.
I want to be absolutely clear with our
Viciously
people
tortured.
and the world. The United States does not torture.
Because they don't know what to do with this case. Because Stanford on fire! Nazi Stanford! So horrible. It's so outrageous what they're doing. It's so horrible. So why don't you find psychiatrists? Please, with this video camera, you have to perform evaluation. Hello, Mrs. Pelosi. My name is Edward Katz. This video session originated on February 20th, 2007 at 493 West Charleston Road in Palo Alto, California.
Hello, Mrs. Pelosi. My name is Claudia Katz. Future of this presentation is screaming voices of wonderful Katz family that for the last 25 years have been served as human guinea pigs in outrage medical experiments illegally run by the Stanford Research under the contract of CIA.
Going back to the 1993, former governor of California, Mr. Pete Wilson, brought to attention of Senator Mrs. Dianne Feinstein disastrous case involving forceful, severe abuse of defenseless family. A brutal cruelty such as classified medical experiment had been carried out without full consent of participants by the Stanford Research. Horrifying trial involved members of the entire family, husband, wife, and 2 children. As it obviously appears, the Nazi program continues non-stop for the last 25 years, and at the moment it's not a secret that the Katz family had been victimized and is participant of atrocious medical abuse. The optimal goal of appealing agenda is mind control, study of human vision, ability to transmit information into the human brain via implants attached to the most vital human organs like brain, cochlear nerves, optic nerves, and much, much more. Tragically, to remove implanted in skull complex system practically impossible unless to murder that subject. The one and only solution in a current situation is to admit crime against children and surgically dysfunction implanted system.
Dear Speaker Pelosi, on June 30 of 2004, Senator Barbara Boxer forwarded information pertaining to the human guinea pigs, the Katz family, requesting Mrs. Eleni Kalish, Assistant Director Office of Congressional Affairs FBI, to disclose elements of the crime regarding participation of the Katz family in heinous transgression. In response, Mr. Vince Lisi, headquarters of FBI, Washington, D.C., with apology, admitted the fact that indeed the Katz family being rudely dragged into the experiments. Follow that, Assistant Director of Internal Affairs FBI, Washington, D.C., Mr. Veazey.
Well, Mr. Katz, this is Mr. Veazey with the FBI. I have called you a couple times and only gotten your message machine. I understand that you called again. Just calling you as promised. I will try and touch base with you later. Thank you.
After evaluating requested information, provided in written as well in video formats, ordered San Francisco FBI to originate investigation involving rape of innocent family.
Good morning, Mrs. Pelosi. My name is Edward Katz. Next to me, my wife Claudia. I apologize to interrupt this video presentation. Today is February 16, 2007. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. We've been rudely awake from our sleep. This rude invasion of what I don't know what to say. Privacy. We don't have privacy since the moment we entered this country. I don't know what kind of word should we find about this disaster. Mrs. Pelosi is somebody in this country. Someone who Mr. Vince Lisi and Mr. Lizzie from Federal Bureau of Investigation, Washington, D.C. torture Katz family purposely. Torture every day. Every single hour. Torture us through the entire immigration through this period when we entered the country. This is so horrible. It's so outrageous what they do to the family. Just take a look, we sleep on the floor. They robbed us, take away our home, everything what we earned. It's not enough. It's not enough when they take everything what we work for. They physically raped us. Tortured, if you will. Tortured with radio implants they put in the brain of every single member of my family by use of public hospitals in Bay Area, California.
That was not enough, Mrs. Pelosi. That was not enough for CIA, FBI, whoever stays behind that crime. That was not enough what we lost everything. We lost 2 houses, we lost business. Now they want our lives. Is that a slavery? Is that a new Holocaust? What is this? What is this? We're in America. We're in a free country. Supposed to be.
For how long is it going to continue? It started when we were in our 40s. Right now we're 60. And they continue to torture us more and more. And no one can stop this insanity. No one apparently can step in and stop this rape. It starts from Bush Sr. and going through the entire pregnancy of his son. This is disaster for the democracy, for the country where you live, where you are speaker.
Please step in. Please step in. This Holocaust cannot be continued. Cannot be continued. We living in a misery. Every day, every hour. How many years? It needs to be stopped. It needs to be stopped. Please, pay attention. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Subsequent of the order of Mr. Vizzi, Special Agent Mr. Brown, Palo Alto Division of FBI, contacted August Katz, one of the victims of the appealing program, and assured that investigation is on the go. Thereafter, San Francisco FBI contacted Katz's residence and as well declared that investigation is in progress. We were told to deliver to the FBI all available materials regarding rape, torture and discrimination in written as well as video formats. Initially, we thought that some glimmer light appears ahead of us and brighten our dream to become once again as free people. But that one light was quickly perished, and it wouldn't be hard to realize why. Because Federal Bureau of Investigation refused to examine crime committed against babies that actually involve FBI itself. Elsa Stanford and CIA, who are directly responsible for such draconian offense, are doing everything possible to sweep under the carpet criminal offense committed against children by the use of public hospital. And Mr. Vizzi, headquarters FBI Washington, D.C., covered up himself
by ordering the FBI division of San Francisco to originate an investigation that unfortunately had never took place.
Human guinea pig Edward Katz originated this video session on January 30th of 2007. Basement of 493 West Charleston. This is how I wake up. Being raped and tortured by Stanford and CIA. They rape me. They rape me. They subjected entire my family to be murdered. Murdered via implant they put in my brain and brain of my family. These individuals, these mentalistic psychopaths knew the implants are not removable. They subject all my family to be murdered. Look at my face. Look at my face. Mrs. Pelosi, look at my face. This is a disaster for this country. Mrs. Pelosi, look at my face closer. Closer. Even more closer. This is rape. Rape by people who live in this country. By insane criminals. This is so horrible what they're doing to human being. This is so outrage. This is the United States of America, January 30th, 2007.
Mrs. Pelosi, we are ordinary, wonderful family without any abnormality. Every single of us deserves to be a free individual, rather being suffering by hooked up to the Stanford brain processing computer. The systems of silicon chips, those that located in our sinus cavities, must be surgically dysfunctioned as soon as possible, and all that family has been earned for over 2 decades by very hard work immediately returned. Being virtually in the state of shock after serving 25 years as human guinea pigs, we in process to produce video documentary called Guinea Pigs from Silicon Valley, dedicated to prevent disaster of Auschwitz, Treblinka, Dachau, in US and anywhere in the world. The slavery, regardless, rather in real form or contemporary, means electronic by use of silicon chips implanted into the brain of selected slaves, should be never repeated, and of course, it's not a top secret. Rather, top imaginable crime one human can do to another.
Mrs. Pelosi, we used to have a house. Bedroom, bed. That's how I sleep for the last 13 years. On the floor. On the floor.
When it comes to a definition of torture and torture devices, there is little disagreement among experts.
Under the UN Convention Against Torture, which was passed by the General Assembly in 1984, torture is defined as cruel, inhuman, or degrading activities against an individual for the purpose of extracting information or punishment or revenge or intimidation.
May 20, 2005. I've been severely tortured while I was sleeping. Torture me. Not Saddam Hussein. Not extremists in Iraq. Doctors in Palo Alto. At Stanford. They transmit signals in my brain. They torture my body. They use physical force against me.
need someone.
Mrs. Pelosi, we would like to meet with you and take video interview in regards of this subject. Your opinion would be very valuable assets in our documentary. We also need your assistance to help us to arrange an appointment with ear, nose and throat doctor. As it sounds quite simple, for the last 15 years we do have a problem to get common sense professional medical evaluation. Such one due to the elements of monstrous crime and must be video recorded to avoid any acts of conspiracy. Hopefully, it shouldn't be too hard to satisfy our request by taking for consideration the fact that we are going to pay for all services. In the meantime, by the suggestion of Federal Bureau Investigation, Mrs. Michelle Sandri, Senior Criminal Investigation, Office of District Attorney, Santa Clara, California, has supported our demand future to subpoena physicians to testify truth and only truth.
Dear Representative, apparently democracy is not for Russian refugees. For decades, since we as refugees entered this country, all that we are experiencing just torture, rape, discrimination, robbery. And what is the most outrageous is our screaming for help voices being forcefully choked. TV, press, magazines are afraid to talk about shocking materials that we're presenting for publications. Why? Is that called freedom of speech?
Good morning, Mrs. Pelosi. Today is January 31st, year 2007. My name is Edward Katz.
Target 4 investigation tonight.
I'm human guinea pig of horrible experiment run by CIA in Stanford. They raped me.
Information.
They raped me.
The United States does not torture.
Day night. They can scunt. It's a horrible crime against my family. They raped me.
I have not authorized it, and I will not.
Their
authorize
brain
it.
implants they put in my skull on March 11, 1991. Kaiser Hospital. This country.
The United States does not torture.
Your country that you lead right now. Try to hide the crime against family. Just a normal, beautiful family.
No, the classified research involved
It's so horrible what they do. It's so outrage.
a Bay Area hospital.
Mrs. Pelosi, please help to stop this crime. Please. Please help.
America's test on her own citizens. Government's guinea pig.
According to the document released to the Katz family by the Federal Bureau Investigation, we find out that our correspondence, phone conversations, internet is not only being monitored but physically constrained. In other words, telephone conversation could be redirected, abbreviated, the person we tried to reach could be substituted. Even registered mail does not reach its destination, and we're not talking about conventional delivery. That mail disappears without trace. And mountains of crime committed against innocent, wonderful family are classified by the US government such as B7C in the interest of defense and national security to be kept secret. Is that what you call democracy?
Our internet mail is fully controlled. The test subjects' cells are filled full with all kind of spying equipments. We are living in tiny cages, presumably being treated as experimental animals. Our residence have been stolen by Stanford associates. All our investments that we obtained by hard work being robbed. Our once before of 20 years of blooming business totally devastated. For the last 13 years, we are sleeping on the floor. Every morning, we are awakened in our 8x10 cell after night sleep apparently is being spread by some kind of frequencies. Our voices effectively altered and sounded very low. Faces get swollen Dear Mrs. Pelosi, is the Katz family being subjected to be murdered? Please, we obviously need your response and assistance to stop this horror against family. We are just family.
Along with this letter, we are presenting for the review and consideration 25 years of human drama, the saga of the Katz. This video presentation reflects reality of ongoing classified medical experiments, element of sadistic torture executed via brain implants, abuse of babies, confession in discrimination against children announced by the public school, disaster in public hospitals. Logically, we consider Congress should be aware what psychopaths are doing by the use of government power. An official discussion involving elements of this criminal misconduct committed by the Stanford, Kaiser Hospital, FBI, CIA, and others who supported crime against children should be openly discussed on the Congress floor.
Mrs. Pelosi, here is sad medical history of the Katz family since we, refugee from USSR, arrived to what we believed the land of promises, United States of America.
July of 1980, Miami, Florida. Prior to move to California, Claudia visited dentist Jeff Patterson, Miami Dental Association, who founded 11 cavities.
In the same year, 2 months later, on September 11 of 1980, I visited dentist Dr. Ratner, Redwood City, California, and he found another 4 cavities.
March 29, 1981. My parents, as a refugee, arrived from Kyiv, Ukraine, to San Francisco. Father is not feeling well and placed in San Francisco Mount Sinai Hospital for observation. On April 2nd of 81, I came to visit my father. Before entering the room, 2 doctors stopped me and told that Dad is unconscious. He is dying. Nothing could bring him back to life, said one of them. I requested physician to allow me to talk to my dad. No, it's impossible, repeatedly responded second doctor. He is gone and nothing can bring him back to life. My mind could not accept the reality of what just presented to me. What should I do? I asked myself. A moment later, after the doctors left, I went to the coffee shop and bought strong coffee. Then got back to my father and fed him spoon by spoon. 10 minutes later, he opened his eyes. On the next day, we took him home. We enjoyed him for the next 4 months.
Going back to the beginning of the 1980, during the period of February-March 1981, my son August, back then a 4-year-old child, had visited Dr. Orland Ellison. The reason to see the doctor was observation of the inflamed tissue located on his private part. At the end of March of 81, Dr. Orland Ellison recommended to perform circumcision as solution of the problem.
The operation was scheduled on April 2nd, 1981 at Sequoia Hospital, Redwood City, California. That day we weren't able to see August for 8 hours. As it indicated in his medical record, during the operation, August was under general anesthesia for nearly 1 hour. According to the medical record, the hospital was supposed to release our boy to our custody 5 hours after admittance to the hospital.
5 hours for circumcision without complication? It's hard to believe. In reality, we were not able to see August for an additional 3 hours after the specific time in medical records. 15 years later, on July 12 of 1996, we met Dr. Orland Ellison and asked him if he remembered any details of that operation. Perhaps he may have recalled where was our son for the additional 3 hours, not mentioned in his medical record. Why was August's face swelling?
Dr. Arlan Ellison told us he does not remember why it took so long time for fairly easy procedures, adding that such an operation shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. In addition, Dr. Ellison told us, "I don't know where your son was all those hours." It's just hard to believe that August was under the general anesthesia nearly 1 hour. If something is wrong, I would like to personally review August's medical records. After that, I'll get in touch with you so we can report the incident to the appropriate U.S. government agency.
Dr. Ellison never called us again. By avoiding discussing information written in medical records, we believe Dr. Ellison was involved in a conspiracy and instructed to act in an inappropriate way. On June 17 of 1999 at Palo Alto Public Hospital, August undertook an X-ray evaluation of his skull to confirm the fact of being implanted with sophisticated electronic devices placed in his sinuses and attached to the brain.
The X-rays clearly confirm and expose Mr. Ronald Reagan and former Chief CIA Casey Williams for involuntarily subjected an innocent boy to become a test subject of Macotra for rejuvenated insane experiments run by Stanford Research under contract of CIA. Our family has all necessary evidence to support every word of this statement.
March 11 of 1982, Stanford Children's Hospital. Our son Jay was operated on under the supervision of Dr. Alan Hillel and Steven Denenberg to remove his tonsils. Essentially, 10 minutes operation turned out as a nightmare. We were not able to see our boy for 48 hours. By exercising physical force, Stanford tortured little baby by placing system of implants in his skull. As the consequences of the tonsillectomy, his brain, eyes, and hearing system was and still being used for scientific experiment. The experiment runs by Nazi Stanford. We need to know names of doctors who are responsible for crime against this little baby.
July of 1982. Claudia visited dentist Dr. Durkin in Redwood City, California. As it appears to be hard to believe, doctor found another 8 cavities in addition to the 15 found previously. Exclusively, sadly, Mr. Durkin as well had been treated 2 healthy teeth. To make an inquiry in such a rude medical procedures, we stopped by at the Durkin office and requested doctor to present Claudia's X-ray that could be justified dentist action. After hiding for a while behind the office door, soon we heard shaking voice of Mr. Durkin responded that X-ray could not be provided to be analyzed. Future complaint that we submitted for review to the California Dental Association still, by now, remained unanswered. Good morning, Mrs. Bennett. Today is May 28th, 2007. It's 2:30 in the morning at 49 Traverse Johnson Road in Palo Alto, California, where the customer raped, robbed, tortured by skunks, by mentally sick psychopaths who raped for 25 years. At the moment when I videotaped this speech, I've been tortured. I've been raped by the implants, brain implants, that
Stanford placed in my brain, in brain of my wife, and both of my children. Mrs. Pelosi has been subjected to be murdered because this implant's impossible to remove. To be murdered, so these skunks torture what they want. They want us to go on these operations, these devastated surgeries. They want to find in us cancer to remove our eyes, brain, to make us deaf. These people murder my family members, my sister, wonderful lady. They destroy her. It's so horrible what they're doing. And we have proof. 100% proof. The proof in our skull, which is gonna stay forever. We need to see doctor, innocent raw specialist. And doctor's afraid to perform evaluation. To show you disaster of psychopaths, of criminals that's supposed to be in mental institution. We sleep on floor since 1994. These skunks take away our home. Give it to the Mr. and Mrs. Phillipses, Stanford Associates. They robbed us, destroy our business, destroy everything. And this is not enough. They continue to torture us because they want our lives. Stanford. Nazi Stanford. That's what it is. That's what it is in 2:30 in the morning. Memorial Day. When Nazi murder entire my family in Kiev, Ukraine. When we ran away from the horror, we came here and they subjected us to be murdered in the United States of America.
Mrs. Pelosi, we need your assistance. We're begging you. In this country, it would be impossible for us to explain such a horror which we live for such a long time. It would be impossible. But in this country, existence, slavery, underground slavery, which is very, very ugly. Human wouldn't understand, normal human wouldn't understand that type of crime. Wouldn't. It would be very difficult. We're begging you to meet with us, to understand what has happened, what kind of misery people live in this country, in this free country. Our children, we're afraid of our children's life. We are already 60s. We lived some kind of life. But kids, what waiting for our children? What waiting for our children? Nothing. We're in misery for too long. We need your assistance. Please, step in. Please, step in.
It takes just a few moments. It's so horrible what they're doing, so outraged. It's hard to explain. We need to know the name of these people. Please, we have to see him.
Doctors cannot evaluate nothing. They lie, constantly lying. They are scared to say what we do have implants in our brain. Who did it, how they did it, and what the implants does. It's a horror.
Disaster.
It's a horror which cannot be explained by words. Cannot be explained by words. We need scientists, doctors who can explain this misery.
This should be stopped.
Please step in. Please step in. We are a wonderful family. By now we lost business we've been running our business for 17 years. We lost our insurances, but we don't want to lose our life. We still have a hope what somebody who is very smart and intelligent will step in and help us to get out from this misery, to get out from this slavery. Very ugly slavery, which probably never exists nowhere but in America.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. March of 1986. Doctor of San Francisco Kaiser Hospital prescribed to Ed's mom new medicine to treat her thyroid gland. The medicine contained some nuclear substance. During next 2 months, her health drastically degraded. She became fatally ill. Kaiser doctors diagnosed her with cancer. According to the medical record, she had never diagnosed for cancer prior to giving medication, but only after taking drug. In June of 1986, at the San Francisco Children's Hospital, oncologists declared that in his practice, he never before met patients with such strange symptoms of cancer. She had never felt any pain nor took any medication, despite that fact that type of this illness in the past had been detected by proceeding with severe pain effects. Overall, the cause of illness didn't reflect cancer at all, that presumably Kaiser had been diagnosed Ed's mom. Children's Hospital told, "This is very unusual cancer in our practice." She passed away on July 7th of 1986.
Spring of 1987. At Kaiser Hospital, Redwood City, California, Claudia Katz was forcefully subjected for vicious medical experiment at the time of treatment by the Kaiser physician while being under the general anesthesia. By realizing the reality of such gross medical abuse, we are raising the question, what American government doing to Russian immigrants by forcefully placing silicone chips into the skull of the victims? Presently, implants are inside of test subjects, and it is priority number 1 to dysfunction implanted system. In early of 1990, while going through a routine checkup at Kaiser Hospital, Redwood City, California, Claudia Katz was penetrated by the finger by Dr. Hoffman. Indeed, most of the women who have followed such a procedure would like to be evaluated by the same gender, but as usually, hospital authority denied her request. In any case, prior to such a sensitive action, doctor is supposed to properly inform the patient, but failed to do so. And so what? If the US government can get away with this without any oversight, then what to stop them covering up they have committed against children? They can do virtually anything and any complaint will be thrown in the garbage. Mrs. Pelosi, Kaiser Hospital unprofessional behavior as exhibited in the playing around with the immigrants is disgusting. Such behavior is unethical for the medical profession, and those responsible should be fired or at very least severely reprimanded.
November of 1990. My husband Edward Katz was operated on at Kaiser Hospital, Redwood City, California, under the supervision of Dr. Volgat. The reason for that was removal of the polyp from his right nostril. As a result of an operation, nasal breathing of my husband was totally paralyzed for the next 5 months. March 11 of 1991. Second operation to remove Ed's nasal polyp. This time, 20 minutes of surgery performed under the supervision of Chief of ENT Department, Dr. Harold Corral, was done while he was under the general anesthesia for nearly 8 hours. The authority of the Kaiser Hospital was directly involved to subject Ed for heinous experiment. We need the names of these individuals. Since that day, Eddie's brain as the brain of our children being used for scientific experiment.
Doctors, look at my face. This is a fascist. Those who hunt people around the world. Look at my face, world. Look what the skunk are doing, huh? April of 1991. In one of the spring days, on the beginning of the 91, we got a phone call at our residence. The caller was Nada Paltic, formerly our customer, that told us that she is not anymore living in the United States and had moved back home to Belgrade, Yugoslavia. During our short conversation, she asked us to allow her husband, Dragan, who is supposed to visit Bay Area for a few days, to stay in our house. Indeed, on next morning, tall man walked in our shop and introduced himself as Nada's husband. For some reason, Claudius didn't like the idea to let stay Dragan in our home, so he left. On next morning, door of our salon opened, and at this time, both Nada and Dragan walked in. Nada asked Claudia for the keys of our house, telling that it was urgent necessity to fly to Bay Area from Yugoslavia. Couple stayed in our residence for approximately 2 weeks, then flew back home. At least that's what they told to us.
Same year, on August 30 of 1991, at the time when our children had visited their friend David Sultan in Palm Springs, California, the agency responsible for conducting an experiment, and as we allege this is Nazi Stanford and CIA, had planned to murder us.
As it's all done in secret, knockout gas can be left behind, and these specially designed remote control knockout gas canisters of sedation gas are remotely controlled to release their contents, causing a person or an entire family while asleep during bedtime to remain unconscious during covert entry by such agents.
Same time, around 3:30 a.m., I fell off the bed, being in stage of shock due to some kind of gas that had overfilled our small bedroom. Mysteriously, doors and windows in our bedroom were tightly closed. Traditionally, we never shut doors in our bedroom, even when children at home. By inspecting the rest of the dwelling, the presence of gas was existent only at our bedroom. On next morning, we provided full written report to Palo Alto Police Department, requesting immediate investigation in regards of this bizarre incident. Rudely, Palo Alto Police disregards our rights as citizens. Dear Mrs. Pelosi, as we understand, Stanford, after the testing implanted system, knowing that it's not removable, scheduled execution of the Katz family. We do have proof for every single statement we declare in this testimony.
April of 1992. San Francisco FBI released secret file on the Katz family. The entire presumably classified information provided in FBI document is entirely covered up by the black ink. Some remarks posted on the side of the document specify that in interest of defense and national security, the covered by the Inc. information should be kept secret. As well as declaration indicated that FBI constitute limited unwarranted invasion of the personal privacy of the Katz family.
Mrs. Pelosi, does FBI document say that such an invasion, indeed by the unwarranted assault on our brains by the illegal use of the public hospitals? We consider such an action on behalf of FBI as violation of our rights as citizens of United States of America, as well as the sign of harassment.
Now, misspelling is the provided document is sounded as mockery. That is rude. After all, realistically, it was no information endo with the document, rather intimidation. By taking for consideration that fact that top secret document was released to the Katz family and nearly 2 years later after what is US government initially denied FOIA request by stating that information contained in the various paragraphs is highly sensitive, we raise the question. What was intention of FBI to provide meaningless manuscript? We wish to know names of the psychopaths who are portraying the law of this country. They have no right to hide mindless brutal action against innocent citizens and conceal gross behavior behind the government agency.
September 1st of 1992. Kaiser Hospital, Redwood City, California. Edward Katz was subjected for disastrous operation involving his left knee. He was forcefully given strong dosage of anesthesia and had been kept unconscious for 5 hours against his will. Consequently, his hip bone had been drilled, thereafter placed in cast. Why? Who allowed Kaiser Hospital to do that? CIA?
In the early 70s, professor of Yale University, Jose Manuel Rodriguez Delgado, Department of Neurosurgery, Psychiatry, 1963-1976, designed microchip that could release on given command via radio signal substance into the implanted tissue of human body. I believe inside of my hip bone I do have such a chip. I do accept as a true fact that substance that contained implant will kill me once it will be released.
We would be appreciated to take for consideration actuality that behind each statement we do have hard evidences that declares reality of our testimony.
No, the classified research involved everything.
Once again, Edward Katz interrupted this video presentation. Presentation about rape, torture, robbery, discrimination of innocent, wonderful family. Look at my face. Face of human guinea pig Edward Katz.
The United States does not torture.
Face has been raped after good night's sleep.
Information.
Someone in this country, mentally sick psychopaths, raping family, wonderful family. You're watching this.
I have not authorized it, and I will not
And
authorize
wonder,
it.
can you step in this horrible crime and disaster and stop this horror?
Now know the classified research involved everything.
We need to know names of these individuals who executed this horrible crime.
The United States does not torture
against children. By use of public hospitals.
A Bay Area hospital.
This is so horrible. This is so outrageous. It's disaster.
America's test on her own citizens. Government's guinea pig.
Autumn of 2004. Santa Clara Public Medical Center. My 11-month ordeal to attempt to proceed an evaluation with the ENT specialist was successfully defeated by the authority of the hospital. An X-ray film of my sinuses took by the hospital department of radiology was altered, and its quality had degraded to the point of being absolutely below of any accepted professional standard.
Consequently, radiologist Dr. Klein, apparently by being instructed, wrote bizarre impression based on the... well, it's hard to tell. Please witness the reality. After processing films according to the established norm, it assertively exposed clusters of implants located in the left upper sinuses.
My request to meet radiologist Dr. Klein and discuss written chaos, as it's supposed to call impression of the X-rays, was declined by the hospital authority. I also was denied to discuss what made general physician Gary Pasternak to write in my medical record such conclusion, as I do have severe paranoia. Stanford doctor raped me. They raped me, blacks! They raped me! They raped me! This is so horrible what they're doing to me. This is so outrage. They raped me. They raped me! They raped me!
Please take for consideration that Dr. Pasternak is not a psychiatrist, and as we found out later, he finalized his decision after evaluating the video information we had provided for the doctor to evaluate reality of notorious classified medical experiments like Macaus, Macnayon, Pandora, Artichoke, COINTELPRO, Bluebird, and Bacultra, as well as images of original X-rays of Ed's scalp.
Despite that fact, the Dr. Pasternak face-to-face admits that he based his conclusion about my severe paranoia after the evaluating video presentation. The actual basis for such decision were never placed into my medical record and remained unsupported. Also, hospital denied to make an appropriate psychiatric evaluation to support written in my medical record allegations. That is against the law. Following that, I get a number of conversations with the Mrs. Sherry Hurst, Customer Service Department. Strangely, the explanation in regards of my inquiries were provided by the Customer Service Department that doesn't have any medical background, rather doctors himself.
Dear Mrs. Pelosi, among us, normal human beings, existing Nazi followers who secretly continue heinous programs that once before Angel of Death Dr. Joseph Mengele originated at Auschwitz-Birkenau. Our rights as the citizens of this country have been abused to the point of debacle. This genocide against family must be stopped, and freedom, as it written in Constitution, returned to each member of the cats. The agencies which are responsible for the heinous crime against children must be investigated and proceeds according as the law required. Free at last! Free at last! Free at last! Thank you for watching this presentation.